There is an ancient legend that is recorded from a very, very old text called the Sefer Temunah, the Book of the Image. A cave called Machpelah is the doorway to the Garden of Eden.
In the remote, unforgiving wilderness of Antarctica, a land untouched by the hands of time, lies a canvas as blank as the endless ice that covers it. Its harsh, frozen landscape, largely uninhabitable and inaccessible, makes it a place ripe for speculation and conspiracy theories. From secret Nazi bases to hidden alien civilizations, the desolate and enigmatic nature of Antarctica provides the perfect backdrop for wild, speculative tales that captivate the minds of those intrigued by the unknown. But amidst the thick veil of secrecy, a few intrepid souls have dared to peel back the layers of ice, revealing tantalizing glimpses of a dark, hidden history that may forever remain entombed in the cold. Join us as we dig deep into the stunning revelations of the White Continent, exploring the scientific discoveries, speculative theories, and ongoing quests that have captivated the imagination of explorers and researchers for decades. At its core, the appeal of Antarctica as a subject of conspiracy theories stems from its very nature as one of the least understood places on Earth. Unlike other continents, Antarctica is not home to any indigenous human population, and its harsh climate deters widespread exploration and settlement. The continent's extreme environment, with temperatures plunging well below freezing and almost continuous darkness during the winter months, has allowed much of it to remain largely unexplored. This inaccessibility has fostered a sense of mystery around the continent, making it a fertile ground for conspiracies. The continent's history is marked by exploration, scientific research, and international cooperation. However, it is also a place of secrets. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959 by 12 countries, established the continent as a zone of peace and science, prohibiting military activity and mineral mining. This treaty, while ensuring the preservation of the environment, also fuels speculation. To many conspiracy theorists, the treaty represents a cover-up, a way to keep the public from knowing the truth about Antarctica. One of the oldest and most persistent conspiracy theories about Antarctica revolves around the Nazis. According to this theory, the Nazis established secret bases in Antarctica during World War II, where they conducted advanced scientific research and possibly even escaped after the fall of the Third Reich. The most extreme version of this theory suggests that these bases are part of a larger global network of underground facilities linked by a vast tunnel system. This idea is often intertwined with the hollow Earth theory, which posits that the Earth is hollow and inhabited by advanced civilizations. Proponents of this theory believe that there are entrances to this inner world at the poles, and that the Nazis discovered these entrances and established contact with these civilizations. Some even claim that Adolf Hitler himself escaped to Antarctica, and that the continent is home to a hidden Nazi empire. The origin of these theories can be traced back to real historical events. In 1938, the Nazis launched an expedition to Antarctica, known as the German Antarctic Expedition. While the official purpose of the expedition was to explore and map the region, conspiracy theorists have long speculated that it had a more sinister motive. The secrecy surrounding the expedition, combined with the fact that it took place during a time of intense geopolitical tension, has fueled speculation. The idea of a Nazi base in Antarctica was further popularized by post-war accounts, such as the claims of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, one of America's most honored American heroes and pioneering explorers. As a 1912 U.S. Naval Academy graduate, understanding the importance of future air travel, Richard Byrd opted to become a naval aviator in 1917. Along with co-pilot Floyd Bennett, on May 9, 1926, Byrd braved a 16-hour flight in a tri-motor monoplane, circling over the Arctic tundra for 13 minutes before heading back to complete the first landmark journey to the North Pole covering 1,135 nautical miles. Both he and Bennett were instantly recognized as heroes and awarded America's top Medal of Honor for their accomplishment, although researchers have disputed his claim as the first to fly over the North Pole. The following year, in 1927, Byrd, Bennett, and 3 others were among several aviator teams that made the first non-stop transatlantic flight from the U.S. to France, though flying solo Charles Lindbergh became the very first. But little more than a month later, Byrd and his crew were at it again, crash landing this time on Omaha Beach, Normandy on July 1st. In 1928, Richard Byrd led his first Antarctic expedition by ship and planes, taking photographs and conducting geological surveying. On November 28, 1929, Byrd and his crew made the first flight over the South Pole, lasting almost 19 hours. Immediately following that historic feat, the explorer became the youngest admiral in U.S. naval history at age 41. After making his second Antarctic expedition in 1934, spending 5 months alone at the advanced base camp, in 1938, Byrd visited Hamburg, Germany, and was actually invited to participate in the 1938-1939 Neuschwabenland Antarctic expedition. But with pre-war tensions rising over Hitler's increasing aggression, Admiral Byrd declined the offer. Instead, in 1939, Byrd led his third and largest South Pole expedition that included 125 men, the first fully funded and sponsored by Washington. But with World War looming on the horizon, a decision was made to eventually abort the expedition, and both East and West Base Camp personnel sailed their ships into Boston Harbor in May 1941, while war in Europe was already raging. During Hawaii, Admiral Byrd was confidential advisor to both the Commander-in-Chief and top naval commander, Admiral Ernest J. King, given assignments in both the European and Pacific theaters. Shortly after the war, through U.S. intelligence services, Operation Paperclip was spawned, granting safe passage for relocation to America, more than 1,500 German scientists, engineers, and skilled technicians for immediate employment. Despite destroying evidence, the U.S. government learned of Germany's advances militarily and the extraterrestrial assistance that enabled them. So the program was developed to jointly gain an unsurpassable military advantage, while jump-starting a fledgling aerospace program, as well as deny Germany, the Soviet Union, and the rest of the world the German brainpower. To Washington's consternation, thousands of scientists, engineers, and Third Reich military and political leaders were never accounted for. Neither were scores of German submarines. Inside sources suspected many had escaped to the German underground base in Antarctica. To seek and destroy, perhaps, the enemy's final refuge, Admiral Richard Byrd was the natural selection to lead the military expedition called Operation High Jump. Billed as a reconnaissance mission to establish the research base Little America 4, the operation hit the high seas in December 1946. When encountering the press, Byrd tended to be more truthful than his government preferred, and just prior to embarking, he openly stated that High Jump was a military expedition to look for some bases. By January 1947, Byrd's Navy Task Force 68 fleet, consisting of 4,700 Navy and Marine personnel, 13 warships including an aircraft carrier, a battleship, and a destroyer, and 33 aircraft, had reached their icy destination and set up their base camp from which to locate and take out the secret Nazi base. Never before had such a vast operation been deployed to the southernmost continent. During the first few weeks of settling in and engaging in reconnaissance and surveying, outside of some close calls under extreme harsh climate conditions, everything seemed to be progressing as scheduled. While on 2 reconnaissance occasions, the flight navigation and radio equipment on Byrd's aircraft failed while flying over a plush green valley, lakes and rivers free of ice, in 70-degree F temperatures. This strange anomaly has fueled speculation over the hollow Earth theory. After nearly 2 months on assignment, suddenly out of nowhere, the Naval Task Force was attacked by combat power and conditions never before witnessed on a battlefront. a number of saucer-shaped craft that exerted a force field shield that appeared to be controlled by anti-gravity UFOs. In the mayhem, 3 U.S. ships were sunk, including the destroyer. The 6-month operation was forced to abruptly abandon its mission. This was alien technology in action. As the defeated task force began its return to the U.S., Admiral Byrd's initial press report from Chile explained that his mission had to be aborted due to taking in too many casualties. The Chilean newspaper El Mercurio ran a March 5, 1947 article stating, Admiral Byrd then declared that it was imperative for the United States to initiate immediate defense measures against hostile regions. The admiral further stated that he didn't want to frighten anyone unduly, but that it was a bitter reality, that in case of a new war, the continental United States would be attacked by flying objects, which could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Admiral Byrd repeated the above points of view, resulting from his personal knowledge gathered both at the North and South Poles before a news conference held for International News Service. Byrd arrived in America after his failed operation on April 14, 1947. Again, when he later testified before Congress, the admiral reiterated his alarming warning. In case of a new war, the U.S. would be attacked by fighters that are able to fly from one pole to the other with incredible speed. Exactly what he meant is open to question. But what's clear is the advanced aeronautic technology his task force encountered makes space travel very conceivable, suggesting that he was either attacked by an alien force or an advanced German air superiority aided by extraterrestrials. Definitely, there can be no doubt that the German military in Antarctica had acquired advanced space-age technologies from an alien civilization, or a hostile extraterrestrial force existed under the ice, or a joint combination of both violently repelled the mighty American naval fleet. Byrd's enigmatic assertion leaves open the possibility that his opponent could navigate from pole to pole through a hollow Earth passageway, surmising that World War II would likely be eventually fought at the poles. National Geographic featured Byrd's high jump story entitled Our Navy Explores Antarctica in its October 1947 issue, but no sooner was it published, the U.S. government immediately pulled virtually every issue of the magazine from circulation. Coincidentally, in July that same year, the UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico was also quickly covered up, like Byrd's violently close encounter with ET technology at the South Pole. Roswell allowed reverse engineering to aid the Black Ops programs to begin developing their own anti-gravity spacecraft. A probable UFO crash in Germany's Bavaria in the summer of 1936 helped give the Nazis a full decade head start. According to an Admiral Byrd 1947 diary, the renowned polar explorer discovered an advanced ET civilization inhabiting a hollowed-out center of the Earth during an Arctic expedition dated February 19, 1947. Among the most incredible stories in history, for good reason, it's been ignored by the U.S. government but scooped up by Hollow Earth aficionados as their biblical proof. February 1947 must have been quite a year for the polar bird man. While during his well-documented Operation High Jump, the admiral was getting his ass kicked by aliens or Nazis equipped with alien technology at the South Pole in February 1947, at the other end of the Earth's North Pole. According to Byrd's secret diary, he was also entering the magical alien world of Agartha for a sobering sit-down chat with the advanced civilization's master, warning him that if humans continue their evil, warlike ways, doom and gloom awaits. Our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the Flugelrads, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity. But now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for your man, mainly that of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the power of your world, and yet they do not heed. Obviously, the government knew about Agartha before Byrd. But once again, the government ordered Byrd to remain silent about what he witnessed during his Antarctica assignment. March 11, 1947. I have just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I have stated fully my discovery and the message from the master. All is duly recorded. The president has been advised. I am now detained for several hours, 6 hours, 39 minutes to be exact. I am interviewed intently by top security forces and a medical team. It was an ordeal. I am placed under strict control via the national security provisions of this United States of America. I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the behalf of humanity. Incredible. I am reminded that I am a military man and I must obey orders. But if Byrd swore such a thing, why can we sit here analyzing every line of his diary? In fact, according to many sources, Byrd's reticence to disclose had much more to do with the tragic fate that befell his former boss, colleague, and friend, James Forrestal, than it did following orders as a military officer. The Secretary of the Navy that sent Byrd down to Antarctica on his 1947 military high-jump mission was James Forrestal, a one-time naval aviator himself, a successful businessman, and in September 1947, the first U.S. Secretary of Defense. He was privy to all the secret cover-ups of the federal government, from the UFO phenomenon to the secrecy of the U.S., Nazi, and alien space technology. 1947 was a busy and eventful year, as Majestic 12 was also formed in July per an executive order by then-President Truman. Majestic 12 is the top-secret committee comprised of scientists, military leaders, and government insiders invited on a need-to-know basis designated to oversee and conceal all alien phenomena and documentation. James Forrestal was a member. Because the Secretary of Defense advocated an open policy of disclosure to his fellow Americans and was both a supporter and ally of Admiral Byrd, his push to reveal the existence of UFOs and the deceptive machinations of the FDR Truman wartime administrations became a thorn in the side of the rogue government. Moreover, the forceful Forrestal also strongly opposed globalism and the establishment of the State of Israel. Hence, his smear campaign and ultimate demise. Forrestal's uncompromising moral high-ground stance had to be neutralized as he threatened to expose the criminal cabal operating at the time as the federal government, having compiled a multi-thousand-page diary that the New York Times claimed could fill a file cabinet, revealing all the inside secrecy he'd been observing. By the end of March 1949, Truman fired him and took possession of his diary. And within a week, in early April 1949, against his will, America's first Secretary of Defense was committed to Bethesda Naval Hospital for mental exhaustion. He was branded mentally unstable, and that was all that was necessary to arrange a few weeks later his suicided murder on May 22, 1949, claiming that he had plunged to his death from a small 16th-floor hospital window. The flawed death investigation was concealed for 55 years before it was released in 2004. A heavily redacted top-secret government document with Majestic's fingerprints written all over it stated, "The untimely death of Secretary Forrestal was deemed necessary and regrettable." Both Forrestal and Byrd wanted to reveal to the outer world the truth about the interior world and the advanced extraterrestrials. And Forrestal's murder had to be taken as a direct threat by Admiral Byrd. Open your mouth, and you'll be next. So in March 1957, Admiral Richard Byrd went to his grave less than 8 years later, still holding on to all his incredible secrets. And other than uttering his few ambiguously suggestive and poetic statements, providing only glimpses of the hidden truth. Another popular conspiracy theory involves UFOs and extraterrestrial activity in Antarctica. This theory suggests that Antarctica is home to alien bases, or that the continent itself is a landing site for extraterrestrial visitors. Proponents of this theory often point to the remoteness of the continent, the lack of human presence, and the presence of unexplained phenomena, such as strange lights in the sky or unexplained radio signals. One of the most well-known incidents cited by journalist Linda Moulton Howe and a former U.S. Navy officer. In July 2018, Linda Moulton Howe, a prominent investigative journalist known for her award-winning paranormal research on earthfiles.com, conducted a gripping interview that would send shockwaves through the UFO community. The whistleblower, a former Navy man who insisted on anonymity and was referred to only as Brian, unveiled a startling secret, a tale of ancient structures hidden beneath the icy expanse of Antarctica. Brian, who identified himself as a retired U.S. Navy first-class petty officer and flight engineer, claimed to have served in the Antarctic Development Squadron 6. During his time stationed at the South Pole between 1983 and 1997, he described extraordinary encounters that defy conventional explanation. He recounted flying through a no-fly zone above Antarctica, where he and his crew allegedly witnessed UFOs, encountered alien beings, and saw a massive entrance leading into what he believed to be an alien base. In his conversation with Howe, Brian revealed a top-secret collaboration between humans and extraterrestrials, with Antarctica serving as a pivotal research hub. He claimed to have seen aerial silver discs hovering over the transantarctic mountains on multiple occasions, and detailed a mysterious hole 8 to 16 kilometers from the South Pole, located within the restricted zone. Brian's story grew more unsettling as he recounted the disappearance of scientists near Marie Byrd Land. When these individuals reappeared, their fear was palpable. They refused to speak of what they had encountered. In an email to Howe, Brian described the unnerving circumstances around a large chasm near an air sampling camp. Despite strict orders not to fly over the area, his crew had done so twice, witnessing a vast hole in the ice, large enough to swallow their aircraft. To substantiate Brian's claims, Earthfiles published a redacted DD-214 document and Antarctic Service Medal awarded to him on November 20, 1984. The credibility of the story was further bolstered by Howe's reputation as a meticulous researcher, earning her acclaim in the realms of science and environmental reporting. A more recent addition to the pantheon of Antarctic conspiracy theories is the idea that ancient pyramids exist on the continent. This theory gained traction in the early 2010s when satellite images and photographs of pyramid-shaped mountains in Antarctica began circulating on the internet. These images, coupled with the lack of public access to the region, led some to speculate that these structures are not natural formations but the remnants of a lost civilization, possibly even one of extraterrestrial origin. Supporters of the Antarctic pyramid theory often draw comparisons to the pyramids of Egypt and Mesoamerica, suggesting that these structures are evidence of a global or interstellar civilization that once existed on Earth. Some even go as far as to claim that the pyramids are part of a larger global grid of ancient power centers, connected by ley lines and used for advanced technological or spiritual purposes. Another theory that has captivated the imaginations of many involves the concept of a hollow Earth, with entrances at the poles, particularly in Antarctica. This theory, which dates back to the 17th century, posits that the Earth is not a solid sphere, but rather hollow, with entire civilizations living within it. Some proponents of this theory believe that Antarctica is home to one of the entrances to this hidden world. Another enduring conspiracy theory suggests that Antarctica was once home to the lost city of Atlantis. This idea is rooted in the speculation that the continent was not always covered in ice. Some researchers and theorists argue that Antarctica was once located in a more temperate region of the globe and that a thriving civilization existed there before a cataclysmic event, such as a pole shift or a massive ice age, caused the continent to freeze over. This theory is often linked to the Piri Reis map, a 16th century map created by the Ottoman admiral Piri Reis. The map, which depicts parts of the Americas and Africa, also shows an unexplored landmass at the bottom of the map, which some have interpreted as evidence that Antarctica was known to ancient civilizations before it was covered in ice. Conspiracy theorists argue that this map proves that a civilization existed in Antarctica before it was buried beneath the ice. However, skeptics point out that the so-called pyramid is likely nothing more than a natural mountain peak that happens to resemble a pyramid. The harsh weather conditions and the way snow and ice accumulate in the region can create geometric shapes that, when viewed from certain angles, may appear artificially constructed. Nonetheless, the idea of an Antarctic pyramid has captured the imagination of many, adding yet another layer to the continent's mystique. Otherwise, as told, the combination of Antarctica's remoteness and the restrictions imposed by the Antarctic Treaty has also fueled theories about government cover-ups and UFO activity. Some conspiracy theorists believe that governments around the world are hiding the existence of extraterrestrial bases or spacecraft in Antarctica. The absence of commercial flights over the continent and the limited access granted to researchers are seen as evidence that something is being hidden. These theories often draw on reports of strange lights and unexplained phenomena observed by scientists and military personnel stationed in the White Continent. While most of these sightings can be explained by natural phenomena, such as optical illusions caused by the unique atmospheric conditions in the region, conspiracy theorists prefer to interpret them as proof of alien activity. The idea of a government cover-up is a common theme in many conspiracy theories, and Antarctica provides the perfect setting for such narratives. The continent's isolation and the strict controls placed on access to it allow for the imagination to run wild, conjuring images of secret experiments, hidden alien bases, and otherworldly encounters. Put simply, as long as Antarctica remains a place of mystery, it is likely to continue serving as a canvas for some of the most outlandish and intriguing conspiracy theories of our time. That's all the information that we have for you today. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you never miss out on future episodes. And be sure to also tell us what you think about today's content. Everyone's support motivates us to continue delivering quality content and to always improve. As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.